Just thinking then about this bonding chemical and how it comes out when we're in close proximity. A lot of couples, a lot of people, me sometimes as well, sleep in the spare room because I have work commitments that'll mean that I'm up early, or my partner has work commitments that means she's up early. But even some of my friends who are in the early stages of parenthood have separated and have a sleep divorce situation. When you talked about the bonding and the oxytocin being released when we're in closer proximity, and obviously at nighttime is when we're literally touching each other, is it conceivable that by separating rooms and by doing a sleep divorce, we're actually eroding our bonding?
I would never do it.
You would never sleep in a different room from your partner?
Never. Apart from maybe if there was a young baby and one person had to go to work and one person didn't. That I get, but that's temporary. And ideally people would find ways to make up for that. I mean, I guess you're in a bit of a love bubble with the oxytocin from the baby at that time, so that is quite neuroprotective. But co-sleeping it's fundamental to our survival. It was physically when we were in the cave, but now I would say emotionally, spiritually, it's fundamental to our survival. I mean,
what do you mean by co-sleeping, just to clarify?
Sleeping together. So mostly in our society, that's as a couple, but a lot of other cultures, the whole family sleeps together.
Why would you never do it? You seemed quite passionate about that.
Because it's so good for you. The bonding, the physical warmth, the skin-to-skin contact, the love, the trust. I mean, I'll put up, if somebody's waking up early and I don't have to wake up at that time, I'll even put up with that.
So you'll have less quality sleep.
It won't be less quality sleep. I've worn HRV monitors and shown that even at the time, if my husband woke up at 5 and I wouldn't wake up at all before 8, and he gave me a kiss goodbye, I got a spike of resilience at that time.
Resilience?
Yeah.
How do you measure that?
So I was using that Finnish technology where you wear the HRV monitor with a gel pad on your chest. And so it's color-coded for whether you're doing light exercise, heavy exercise, whether you're stressed, or whether you're recouping resilience. And mostly people recoup resilience overnight. But, you could clearly see with people with young children, you could see when they were woken up overnight because it would go into stress. Some people recoup resilience during the day. If, let's say you're like with your partner or your sibling and you're just sitting together and it's super relaxed. Or if you love your job, that you can see that happening during the day as well. But because I am so obsessed with my sleep, I wouldn't normally welcome any sleep disturbance, but the power of sleeping together and cuddling all night is so neuroprotective that I would encourage everybody to do it if they can. I also know some people who say, I sleep better if I sleep on my own. But we're not meant to survive on our own. We're meant to survive as part of a tribe. And I think now, since the pandemic, people are more lost and lonely and disconnected than ever. If you've got somebody that you can actually sleep with overnight, I strongly suggest that you do it.
So I want to go in that direction because I'm super compelled by that, the change in the world and the lost, the lonely, the disconnected. But just to pause for a second on this word resilience you're using linked to heart rate variability. You're talking about like a physiological resilience, like the body being more resilient versus the kind of, when we talk about resilience, we say it in more of a psychological context of like, I can withstand greater stress or pressure. But you used a heart rate variability monitor that measures the distance between heartbeats and saw that when your husband gave you a kiss, your heart rate variability increased, which means that your body was more physiologically resilient.
It actually measures both because it compares your heart rate variability to your heart rate.
Okay.
So it knows if you're exercising because your heart rate has gone up. But if your heart rate is at like base level, then the change in variability can either mean that you're stressed or you're recouping resilience. If your heart rate is high, then it's obviously physical. But it's a factor of both. So it's not just looking at physical resilience. It is looking when it's in this turquoise zone, that is actually more about recouping psychological resilience. But those two things, they feed into each other, but it can tell the difference because of your heart rate. So obviously I was asleep, so my heart rate was low.
And you saw what on the monitor when he gave you a kiss? I
literally saw a spike, because it does it by every 15 minutes as well. And I saw the highest spike of turquoise at that exact time.
It's funny because my girlfriend, about a month ago or 2 months ago, I left the house quite early in the morning, maybe about this similar time, 6 a.m. in the morning, when she was still in bed. And I came up to her and gave her like a big kiss. I basically kissed all around her. This is so soppy. I kissed all around her face and on her nose and just gave her a big, big hug and stuff. And I walked away, like got in the taxi and left or whatever. And she said to me the same day or the day after, she went, I don't know what happened there, but it unlocked something in me. And, then my girlfriend went on to say she'd had some challenges with her menstrual cycle and she came on her period.
That's amazing.
And
I love that.
she's always right. Like when she says things to me, and she knows this, but I give her a credit. I'm always skeptical because we think differently. She's quite spiritual. Yeah. I'm very I need some science. Mm-hmm. And she said that to me and I just thought, a kiss and a hug in the morning, couldn't have had any physiological impact on her. But now I'm starting to question whether once again I was wrong.
That's amazing. I mean, some of these things can't necessarily immediately be explained by science, but if you use your intuition, then you have to ask yourself, and I feel like you are coming around to thinking that could be true.
When I'm given a reason, I accept things. If there's even a slither of science that could justify it, then I come around to ideas, but I do need the science. Do you think that men and women are different in terms of their intuition and their ability to, you're smiling, their ability to kind of understand some of these forces that exist in the air? Because my girlfriend seems to be so attuned to feelings and intuition and I'm less so.
Yeah, so let's put it like this. If you had 100 people in a room, 50 men and 50 women, and you asked them to line up in order of height, not all the men would be taller than all the women. In the middle, there'd be a bit of a mixture. And it's like that with the brain and intuition and everything else. So yeah, there's some disparity. So I think most people would agree that it feels like more women are in touch with their intuition than men, but it's absolutely not all women versus all men.
Do you believe women are more in touch with their intuition?
I think they're more open to accepting that it's a thing. And I believe that more men need the science to explain how intuition works. Interesting.
I wondered if there was like a neurological reason for that. I think there'd be more women and men that believed in intuition and those like feelings that are hard to explain. And
that's changed a lot. I mean, I remember when I was teaching at MIT about 7 years ago, and I was teaching the science of intuition, someone actually stood, and it's all senior leaders in the classroom, it's executive education. Someone stood up and said, well, I'm not going to make a really important decision like hire or fire based on my gut feeling, am I? And he was quite young, and quite a few of the older guys turned around and were like, that's absolutely how I would make my decision and my most important decisions. But at that time, it was still kind of like, not everybody was really sure that that's like your superpower. But I think people are beginning to understand more that with age and experience and wisdom, you do understand that intuition is actually your strongest, should be your strongest decision-making modality.